If you could go back to your 16-year-old self and give him one piece of advice, what would that be?
Jump now. No. I'd probably say to my 16-year-old self, you can either follow the path that you're already on, and you will find that there is a lot of heartache, a lot of upset, and a lot of pain. Or you can take your mother's advice and you can work really, really hard, get yourself a mortgage, get yourself a house, work really, really hard to pay your mortgage, get yourself a wife, have children, work really, really hard to keep your house and your mortgage and your wife and your children, keep them in clothes, keep them fed, work really, really hard for all of the time that there is, and never, ever give yourself time to think. Because if you never have time to think, the chances are you'll be happy. But the moment you start thinking, you've got problems.
You see, when I first seen this video, I thought, this is the realest truth I've heard in my life. And I decided to share it with other people, and it went absolutely viral. I mean, I posted it about a month ago, and it got about 4 million views in the first 2 weeks, which is absolutely insane. And there are a lot of people from different countries with different backgrounds, absolutely crazy life stories. I mean, if you go through the comment section, it's absolutely insane. And in the beginning, I was trying to respond to those comments, but then I've just lost the track of it. However, there is an interesting feature in the YouTube Studio which allows you to make an AI summary of the comments, and I did that, and I wanna dwell on that for a little bit. So, comment summary. The community exhibits a strong, bifurcated, whatever the hell that means, bifurcated response to the video's message, with many resonating deeply with the advice to avoid overthinking by staying busy and focusing on practical life aspects, while a significant counter-narrative emphasizes the importance of thoughtful reflection, sometimes advocating for a spiritual path to happiness. It seems like the community has split into 3 groups of people, so let's walk through it one by one. First group, strong resonance with don't overthink advice. Very frequently, a substantial portion of comments express profound agreement with the idea that overthinking leads to unhappiness and that staying busy with work, family, and responsibilities is a practical path to contentment, reflecting a desire to avoid existential dread. And there is some truth to that if you think about it, because you need to be grounded in work, in responsibilities. You need to have something to do, something practical. That's why they say idle hands are the devil's workshop, you know? However, if you push this advice to extreme, it's also not pretty, because it's somewhat Nazi advice. You just work and never think. It just turns you into a robot. It reminds me of George Orwell's Animal Farm, if you are acquainted with George Orwell. And you see, in Animal Farm, there is a character named Boxer. It's a horse. And Boxer has a quite simple life philosophy. He has 2 mottos in life. First, Napoleon is always right. Second, I will just work harder. And so he works extremely hard his entire life without realizing that he himself supports the totalitarian system, because he never questions it. He is just working harder. And at the end, when he's old and useless and sick, the system just throws him into a dumpster. That's his fate. So, that's one way of looking at it. Let's proceed with the second group. Counter arguments emphasizing thought and purpose. Okay. A notable number of viewers critically question the advice, arguing that strategic thinking, self-reflection, and finding personal purpose are essential for true happiness rather than merely avoiding thought or being ignorant. It also makes sense, because you need some self-reflection in life. I mean, you want to know who you are, and you want to realize your true potential. And that is only achieved through self-reflection. You need to align with your true personality so that you can build something of your own. However, there is also dark side to it, because if you get too self-reflective, you may get stuck in the loop of negative thoughts, and that's what this man in the video is saying about. Because you see, our ability to think about our own thoughts, it's metacognition, and it often goes into negative direction because we think negatively about negative thoughts, and we get pissed, and then we get pissed about the fact that we got pissed, and spiral down to hell. That's not good. That's not pretty. And then there is a third group of people, religious and spiritual alternatives. Many comments propose that faith, particularly in Jesus Christ, provides the ultimate solution to unhappiness and the burdens of deep thought, offering purpose and peace that worldly pursuits or avoidance of reflection cannot. And it's also true to an extent, because I mean, true faith does beautiful things. When you stop to control everything on your own, and when you give controls to God, it becomes way lot easier to navigate through life. However, I'd say that what I noticed is that a lot of religious and spiritual people, they are somewhat disconnected from reality. I mean, when you push it to extreme, once again, you get disconnected from reality. And so those people, they build their own worlds which have very little to do with reality. A lot of them are simply delusional. A lot of them are using God as a disguise, as an excuse for their inaction. So that would be it. I've just been thinking that if you can somehow combine those three life philosophies, let's say, and if you can find a middle path between them, then you're golden. And you see, everyone is watching this video through their own lens. And when I was watching this video for the first time, it was very relevant to me, because in the beginning I was on the path of my mother's advice. I was just working and I wasn't thinking that much. I was working as a marine engineer on ships, and it was okay until one day I woke up with a blunt question on my mind: why am I doing the work I don't care about? And that's when I was thrown into this dark pit of despair, and I've come to realize that I was living a life foundations of which were built on values of other people. And so no wonder everything collapsed. I started to journal a lot, and I found out that I have absolutely different interests. I am more interested in writing and in philosophy, in self-improvement, in psychology, all of those things. And so that's when I began following the path, following my own path. And it doesn't mean there is less struggle or less suffering. I'm still suffering, there is still a lot of struggle, there is still a lot of pain. But I know what it's for, and it's something of mine. Because you see, ultimately, I think the question is, what are you willing to suffer for? Because you see, no matter what path you're on, you're still gonna suffer. And there is nothing more painful than stupid suffering. So meditate on that. What is it you are willing to suffer for? If you can answer that question honestly, then you can set your sails and go wherever you wanna go in life. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Much love, and I will see you in the next one.